All right, breaking this morning, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky pushing back against President Trump, really in the strongest terms he has used.
Unfortunately, President Trump, I have great respect for him as a leader of a nation that we have great respect for. The American people who always support us, unfortunately, lives in this disinformation space.
President Trump lives in this disinformation space. This comes after President Trump tried to kind of rewrite history, blaming Zelensky for Russia invading Ukraine. With us now is Gabe Amo, Democratic Congressman from the state of Rhode Island. He's the vice-ranking member of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. Do you agree with President Zelensky? And how wise is it, do you think, for him to be so critical of President Trump?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, John. Look, I think President Zelensky is accurate. And even beyond that, President Trump is not only living in a disinformation space, he is governing, advancing, and growing this ahistorical version of reality, where he is blaming Ukrainians for their plight, blaming them for Russia's invasion. And I think it's incumbent on us to speak truth. And so I agree with President Zelensky's goal in advancing that and setting the terms here that Donald Trump's weakness relative to Vladimir Putin should not be something that changes and rewrites history.
Let's listen to what President Trump said. One of the things he said that President Zelensky might be referring to as misinformation. Listen.
I think I have the power to end this war, and I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
You should have never started it, he said of Ukraine, Congressman.
Well, we're all witness to history. We know that's false. This is the typical rhetoric of Donald Trump. Lies and, frankly, a disgraceful betrayal of an ally who we have supported. You heard Senator Roger Wicker, chairman of the Armed Services Committee, say very clearly that Vladimir Putin is a war criminal. There is a bipartisan agreement in Congress when I talk to my colleagues on the Foreign Affairs Committee throughout Congress that we should not acquiesce to Putin's demands. Yet Donald Trump again demonstrates weakness. And at the end of the day, this is a betrayal of our allies. We're leaving Europe alone. In addition to Ukraine, we need Ukraine at the table, and we need this to be an actual negotiation if that is what is going to resolve this conflict.
I want to read you a line written by Peter Baker in the New York Times today. Peter Baker writes, quote, "For more than a decade, the West has faced off against the East again in what was widely called a new Cold War. But with President Trump back in office, America is giving the impression that it could be switching sides." What do you think of that, the idea that the U.S. is switching sides in this Cold War?
Well, look, that is a real questioning of our values. And that is only the case because of Donald Trump's failed leadership. In just 30 days, he has turned his back on those who we have been linked with in setting forth an agenda of freedom and democracy in this world. And so I hope that the better angels speak to the president, Secretary Rubio, and those around the table to bring in Ukraine, to bring in our European allies so that we can have the alliance that we deserve, not an allegiance with Vladimir Putin and his aggression.
Do you think Secretary Rubio agrees with President Trump that Ukraine started the war?
Look, I've seen a lot of what Secretary Rubio has said before, and I think sometimes things change when people get a new title. And all I can say is I would hope that some of his past rhetoric about needing to stand up to Russia actually reflects itself in what we see at the table in the coming weeks.
Congressman Gabe Amo, the pride of Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I miss McCoy Stadium. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Appreciate your time.